And the Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game 1.
Okay, seriously, nobody gave the Indiana Fever a prayer. ESPN analysts straight up wrote them off, odds makers were practically laughing, and even the two-time champions, the Las Vegas Aces, expected a total sweep. But then, on the Aces' home court, on the very night their superstar A'ja Wilson was crowned MVP, the Fever absolutely stunned everyone by snatching Game 1. So how did a team missing 6 players completely flip the script on the entire series with just 1 win? And get this, what did Caitlin Clark say to her teammates after the game that's got the whole league buzzing? Stick with us, because this wasn't just some random upset, it was a seismic statement. If you're as fired up for the Fever as we are, drop a fired up in the comments, and tell us how proud you are of this incredible team. So what actually happens when a team rolls into the playoffs with 6 key players sidelined, 0 analysts giving them a real shot, and the 2-time reigning champions just waiting to pounce? Well, you get the ultimate test of belief for the Indiana Fever, a night that was literally scheduled to be someone else's coronation, but somehow, against all odds, morphed into their unforgettable moment.
Particular matchup, Aces Fever Game 1. We're not deciding the whole series right now, just Game 1.
Should we do it together?
I think we should do it together,
Okay.
because my spidey sense are telling me they might be the same. 3, 2, 1.
Aces.
They're not gonna lose after she just won MVP.
Yeah, period.
There's no, yeah.
From the jump, everyone framed this series as a total mismatch, right? ESPN panels practically called it short and predictable, and sportsbooks had odds so ridiculously lopsided. It was literally easier to bet on how many points Las Vegas would win by than on Indiana actually pulling off a series victory. Even the headlines before the game screamed it. They talked about survival, not victory. The Aces were just expected to cruise their way to another finals, and the unspoken message was crystal clear. If Indiana managed to avoid total humiliation, that alone would somehow be considered a success.
Indiana Fever had no business winning a playoff series this year, had no business advancing to the semifinals for the first time in a decade, and yet here they are, eliminating the Atlanta Dream in Atlanta without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Sid Colson, without Erin McDonald, without Chloe Bibby. The hospital squad is on the bench, and yet the Indiana Fever are into the semifinals of the WNBA playoff.
And if that wasn't enough, then came the injury report. A brutal list of names including Caitlin Clark sidelined, Sophie Cunningham out, plus Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, Ari McDonald, and Damaris Dantas. 6 names gone. The Fever didn't just look like they were missing a few players, they looked like a team held together with sheer duct tape. This went way beyond just being underdogs. People were actually calling them lucky to even be standing on the court, as if their season had already unofficially expired before the playoffs even began.
And then the coaching of Stephanie White. Like, she is working with a 9-woman rotation, and 5 of those players did not even touch the court the last time the Fever played the Dream during the regular season, and 3 of those players weren't even on the team. Like, I cannot say it enough. The Indiana Fever should not be here. They continue to be here. They battle. They're resilient. It's wildly impressive. Caitlin Clark wore the black Air Force Ones again. They had one of those forces lifted in the air like a beacon of hope, and now they'll face the Aces.
Just picture this scene in Las Vegas right before tip-off. Championship banners hanging high, the crowd buzzing, ready for a massive celebration, and then the main event. A'ja Wilson, center court, being honored with her MVP trophy. This wasn't just about acknowledging her incredible brilliance, it symbolized the entire narrative everyone expected. Vegas was the undeniable powerhouse, and Indiana was relegated to a background act. The Fever's players weren't just overlooked. In their very own semi-final debut, they were practically invisible.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So you know what, we'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
But here's the crazy thing about sports. They have this unbelievable way of flipping the script precisely when expectations are at their most rigid. Think about all those epic underdog runs throughout history. Teams written off before they even stepped on the court. Squads that absolutely no one thought belonged on the same floor. You could feel those exact parallels brewing right here. This wasn't just the start of a playoff series. For Indiana, Game 1 was their chance, their only chance to grab a seat at the table and loudly declare they were here to fight. And by the final buzzer, that entire pre-written narrative utterly shattered. The spotlight on A'ja Wilson's MVP moment suddenly dimmed, because the Fever had completely stolen it, walking out of Las Vegas with an 89-73 win, their first semifinal victory in almost a decade, leaving the entire basketball world staring in total disbelief. But the real shocker didn't just come from the team as a whole, it came from one specific player who turned that night into her own personal masterpiece.
Respect everyone, fear no one. Woo! Sounds in the chat. Oh! Dub. That's one. That's big time. That's big time.
While literally all eyes were locked on A'ja Wilson, watching her raise that MVP trophy, absolutely nobody, and I mean nobody, expected Kelsey Mitchell to storm in and completely rewrite the entire story. It was supposed to be Wilson's night, the defending champions effortlessly taking care of business at home, the narrative already neatly penned before the ball even tipped. But Mitchell absolutely refused to let Indiana be just a footnote. She transformed that semifinal opener into her own personal masterpiece, and by the time the final buzzer sounded, the conversation across the entire league had already dramatically shifted.
First semifinal appearance. Just what's your emotional state right now?
Normal, I think. It's practice. Trying to prepare like anybody else would, like any other day. But keep the main thing. That's all you can do.
Kelsey Mitchell has always been widely respected as an elite scorer, no doubt, but let's be real, she's often mentioned as almost an afterthought behind some of the bigger, flashier names in the WNBA. Heading into this series, all the buzz was about A'ja Wilson continuing her dominance, or if Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray would completely overwhelm the Fever, or even whether Indiana could simply stay on the floor. Very, very few people were talking about Mitchell as the one player who could truly redefine this matchup. Yet, just like she's done for so much of her career, she gave the perfect answer by letting her game do all the talking, speaking volumes louder than any expectations or whispers around her.
Tell your younger self.
Yeah.
How would you explain to her to make sure that you give yourself grace and give you the flowers that you so willingly deserve?
Ooh, I think the best thing I could have done was, I had a long list. I wrote down a list of all the times I could have quit, been a pro, playing with the Indiana Fever. I wrote down all the people that wrote me off. I wrote it down on a list. I wrote down all the coaches that didn't want me around. I wrote down all the media outlet that didn't want to talk to me. I think that within itself is like, you got to tell your younger self not to give up on you. Because there's been a lot of times I could have given up when I know a lot of people that talk to me now weren't talking to me, and I know what it was like when they wasn't. So that part is big for me.
Mitchell didn't just score, she scored in literally every single way you could possibly imagine. She was sinking mid-range pull-ups with defenders draped all over her, battling through screens. Then she drilled deep threes whenever the Aces gave her even a split second of space. And get this, she hit every single free throw, finishing a perfect 6 for 6 from the line. From inside, outside, and everywhere in between, she looked absolutely untouchable. By the time the final box score came in, she had piled up a staggering 34 points on 12 for 23 shooting from the field, going 4 for 6 from beyond the arc and maintaining that flawless mark at the charity stripe. It wasn't just efficient, it was absolutely relentless.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
That 34-point explosion wasn't just a big game for Mitchell, it was absolutely historic. Seriously, no Fever player had scored over 30 points in a playoff game since way back in 2012. And get this, no one in WNBA history had ever dropped that many in their very first semifinal appearance. Mitchell's performance now rightfully sits alongside legends like Lauren Jackson and Cynthia Cooper, but it actually goes one crucial step further because she shattered their record. Think about that for a second. In her postseason debut at this elite level, going head-to-head against the reigning champions, all while the spotlight was shining on an MVP celebration, she completely carved out her own name in the record books.
He's done that. 5-point advantage for Indy. Trying to go inside. Terrific defense by Mitchell to deny Lloyd. It's Mitchell, guarded by Evans. Screen from Turner. Kelsey Mitchell knocks down another shot.
No one is accountable for Hall.
It's Mitchell. Come on.
And you know what? Even those watching from the sidelines, like Caitlin Clark, felt the sheer weight of that performance. Sidelined by injury, Clark had a simple but incredibly powerful reaction. Just 2 words blasted across social media: Kelsey. Unreal. No elaborate speech, no overthinking it. Just pure, unadulterated respect from the sophomore phenom to the seasoned veteran who truly carried them when it mattered most. It was a clear, undeniable sign of just how much Mitchell means to this team, and how deeply her teammates recognize her impact.
So who's going to step up, and how can the Aces find an edge?
Another good cut to the basket, this time by Turner.
The Las Vegas Aces are running out of time because the Indiana Fever making passes with... That's right.
Boston. Triple team, kicks it out. Kelsey Mitchell.
Even Aces head coach Becky Hammon, who's definitely not one to hand out compliments lightly, had to admit post-game that they simply had no answer for Mitchell. That acknowledgement alone just underscored how completely she took over virtually every single possession that night. This wasn't luck, it wasn't some random fluke. This was Mitchell absolutely at her best, proving once and for all that she belongs squarely in every single conversation about the league's most dangerous guards.
But you can start on the defensive end. I mean, clearly we had no answer for Mitchell. Couldn't even attempt to slow her down a little bit. I thought it was really poor, really poor.
The symbolism here couldn't have been any louder, could it? On the exact same floor where A'ja Wilson was being crowned as the league's MVP, Kelsey Mitchell was powerfully staking her own claim, almost as if she was saying, hey, we've got a most valuable player too, and she's rocking Fever red, blue, and yellow. A career night, absolutely, but even more than that, her 34 points represented Indiana's sheer defiance, their outright refusal to accept a supporting role in this story. The Fever didn't just win because of Mitchell's incredible outburst, they actually found their identity through it. And that identity definitely didn't end with just one score. The real heartbeat of this entire upset came from the whole roster, with suffocating defense, relentless hustle, and incredible depth combining to completely frustrate the champions from every single angle. Everyone expected Las Vegas to absolutely own the paint, to bully the Fever inside with their size, strength, and that MVP presence. But instead, Indiana flipped the script, making defense and tempo their weapon, dominating in the one area almost nobody thought they could possibly win. What unfolded wasn't just resistance, it looked like a literal blueprint for how to break down the defending champion.
Lexi Hull had that great steal to seal the win against Atlanta. Great start for Leah Boston.
Definitely the best slasher.
Boston and Wilson, 2 former South Carolina players. A'ja can't find the bottom of the net.
5'11". Odyssey Sims and Kelsey Mitchell 5'8".
Boston up, under, and in.
Really having her battle.
A'ja.
At the absolute center of all this was Aaliyah Boston, and her assignment? Oh man, it was easily one of the toughest you could possibly imagine, guarding A'ja Wilson, who had just been named MVP. Wilson thrives in the post, stretches defenders thin, and attacks relentlessly, right? Most players would probably shrink at that matchup, but Boston, She absolutely didn't. From the very first possession, her focus was pure disruption, not just trying to go shot for shot with Wilson. Her approach was brilliantly simple: make Wilson uncomfortable. If she could push her off her usual sweet spots, contest every single catch, and force her to reset, Indiana knew they could tilt that battle in their favor.
Juice effort than us. So that's got to change this second half.
Coach, you're shooting under 40 from the field, about 7.
Hit about it.
All right, thank you very much, Coach Hammond. And let's go over now to Angel Gray. Courageous. Spins, counters, doesn't get the bounce.
I am just so impressed.
Oh, Boston just faked Wilson out of her.
And get this, it totally worked. Wilson still put up 16 points and 13 rebounds, numbers that on the surface look perfectly fine, but the real story was her rhythm. She had to absolutely grind for every single bucket, settling for shots that just lacked her usual effortless flow and often working deep into the shot clock. That constant nagging irritation completely slowed the Aces' offense, chipping away at the confidence of a team that typically thrives when Wilson dictates every single thing. Boston didn't completely erase the MVP, no, but she did something almost as impressive. She made her look human, and honestly, that alone is a monumental achievement.
Lexi Hull had that great steal to seal the win against Atlanta. A great start for Leah Boston.
Beyond Boston's incredible performance, Indiana desperately needed its wings to step up, and Lexi Hull absolutely answered the call. She drew Jackie Young, easily one of the toughest covers in the entire league, and she shadowed her on every single cut, battled through screens like a warrior, and flat out refused to bite on any fakes. Young simply never found the space she usually thrives on, and by the end of the game, her impact felt completely muted, but Hull added even more by calmly knocking down clutch threes when Indiana needed them most, proving that her effort wasn't just about stopping someone else, it was also about igniting her own team's offense.
First 5 minutes. One shot. Rebound. Stay high, stay high, stay high. We're good, we're good, we're good. Good job, Kels.
Keep playing great defense. Stay on the ground.
Yeah. Switch, switch, switch.
Few minutes to go in the quarter. Hull left open for three, and she hits it. Much needed. Odyssey. Thought about it, but boy, her shooting's on point.
And get this, the Fever also had Odyssey Sims attacking with absolute fire on every single possession. She was fearless, taking the ball straight at Vegas defenders, splitting lanes and forcing the Aces into foul trouble left and right. Her relentless drives completely changed the tempo of the game. Instead of Indiana playing slow and cautious, the pace dramatically sped up, and suddenly, Vegas, usually the team dictating everything, looked like the one scrambling just to keep up. Sims had them reacting instead of controlling, and that critical shift perfectly fed into the Fever's defense, allowing them to get set and locked in possession after possession.
Good anticipation there by Brianna Turner. She's been on a couple WNBA all defensive teams, and she has really been key for them on that end of the floor in these playoffs.
Sims, yet again.
That's a tough matchup.
Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple in the regular season in Asia. In the entire league.
They gave her just that space, and wow, did she take it. Natasha Howard was absolutely steady all night long, recording yet another crucial double-double. She was incredibly active on the glass, consistently boxing out to create those vital second chances for Indiana and fiercely protecting the lane on the defensive end.
Uses her strength, her athleticism. There were 3 or 4 Seattle players right there, but Jackie Young made the game winner.
Fade away from Natasha Howard. To the ball on the block. Now the shot clock is winding down. Young doing a good job keeping Kelsey Mitchell away from the basket, but the Fever score.
Brianna Turner might not have completely filled up the box score, but let me tell you, her presence was absolutely unmistakable. She was altering shots with her incredible length, walling up drivers, and effectively making the paint a place the Aces couldn't just casually own. By the numbers, Indiana completely outscored Las Vegas 50-38 in the paint, which totally flipped what everyone thought was supposed to be a massive disadvantage into one of their greatest and most surprising strengths.
Great. Driving, taking the shot. Stopped by...
When that game finally ended, even Aces coach Becky Hammon had to admit what was clear to everyone watching. Indiana utterly dominated the categories that mattered most: pace, defense, and sheer urgency. That frank acknowledgement alone told the entire story. This wasn't some lucky break or a random hot shooting night. No, this was a team making a powerful statement, establishing exactly how they could compete, how they could frustrate, and how they could actually win again. Now the critical question becomes whether the Fever can deploy that same defensive blueprint in Game 2 and keep the Aces from making their own crucial adjustments. So, one game down, but here's the tough reality check. In a best-of-5 series, history shows that 28% of teams who drop Game 1 still manage to come back and win the entire series. The Aces know this, their fans know this, and you can bet they're preparing for Game 2 like it's literally life or death. For Indiana, these next 40 minutes will be the most important of their season so far. Win again, and they head home up 2-0 with an incredible chance to close it out in front of their own roaring crowd. But a loss? Well, the news resets. The series momentum is suddenly gone. The real test is, how do they feel about their performance, the urgency they showed, and the way they forced the Aces to truly play that night?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away, to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end, and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third, and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game. It's a long series, so we got to keep the main thing. But to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us.
Championship teams, you guys, they respond to losses in a completely different way, and the Aces, they've definitely been here before. They've faced early setbacks in past playoff runs and bounced right back by making lightning-fast adjustments. That, right there, is their huge advantage. They know how to learn in hours what can take other teams weeks to figure out. Trust me, they won't come out flat again. They are going to come out swinging like never before. A'ja Wilson especially will be absolutely hunting for redemption because she hates being held down, and you can bet Las Vegas will make it a top priority to get her into strong scoring positions right away. Jackie Young, who really struggled against Lexi Hull's smothering defense, will also be looking to get loose on cuts, screens, and generate early offense before the Fever defense even has a chance to set. And guess what? Becky Hammon has now seen exactly what worked for Indiana, which means her team will walk in with a completely different game plan. So the Fever have to answer one crucial question: can they handle being the team in control? This is completely new territory for them. Winning as the underdog is one incredible story, but following it up with another win when your opponent is throwing everything they have at you, that's a significantly harder test. Can Kelsey Mitchell find that same scorching shooting rhythm when the defense starts bringing traps and doubles? Can Aaliyah Boston manage to keep Wilson uncomfortable for a second straight game? Or does Wilson finally break free? These, my friends, are not small challenges at all.
We've got to keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. We've got to keep our layers, the outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor, it doesn't matter who's on our roster. They give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special things.
This, my friends, is exactly where the idea of a true championship moment kicks in. When you're tested after a massive success, do you fold under the pressure or do you rise up and dominate again? If Indiana manages to find a way to snatch Game 2, they don't just hold on to momentum, they transform themselves from underdog upset artists into legitimate contenders for the finals. This wasn't just some random playoff win. This was Indiana reclaiming its belief, proving that "we over me" isn't just a catchy slogan, it's their undeniable identity on the biggest stage. One fearless night, after a decade of waiting, showed exactly what this group is capable of. As Coach Stephanie White wisely reminded everyone, we take it one day at a time. We can't look too far in front of us, because that's when you start to lose your focus. Game 2 now stands as far more than just the next challenge. It's the pivotal moment where one incredible upset can blossom into a full-blown finals run. So can the Fever keep making history? If you're fired up for the Fever, hit that comment section and tell us fired up and how proud you are of this team. Make sure to click subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Then click the video on your screen right now and we'll catch you in the next one.